My name is Michael Albert, and I am the host of the podcast that's titled RevolutionZ. This is our 337th consecutive piece, and it is titled Israel, Trump, and Us. Back in September, if you can believe it, I wrote a short piece that I would like to briefly begin this episode of RevolutionZ with. It went like this. Sometimes we must explicitly state what ought to be utterly obvious. Or would we rather make what is disgusting normal? Make every street corner a shooting gallery, every handheld device a bomb, every bomb a cemetery, every step someone's last. Do we want to make fear the new normal? Paranoia wisdom? Do we want to cease fire or to spread fire? Dear Netanyahu, you have crawled past statist elitism, past nationalistic immorality, past ignominious war-making infamy, all the way to fascistic, bottom-feeding decrepitude. You are disgusting, and you want to drag us all after you, don't you? But what of those in the Israeli Defense Force? What of Israelis living life and life only throughout Israel? What of Israel's supporters living life and life only around the world? How should we, who are nauseated by what has been and is being done to Palestinians, and by what is now spreading, rather than ceasing, regard Netanyahu, regard the IDF, regard Israelis in Israel who support genocide, and regard Israel's supporters around the world, who ignore, alibi, arm, and otherwise aid genocide? Can we be horrified, outraged, and enraged, but also regard the planners, perpetrators, supporters, and ignorers of the genocide hurled at Gaza's schools, hospitals, homes, and streets, without ourselves hurling dehumanizing epithets, without ourselves becoming dehumanizers? It is getting difficult. It really is. We don't want to think of fellow humans, much less of neighbors or relatives, as planners, perpetrators, abettors, or even just ignorers of genocide. We don't want to hate fellow humans. Can we hate the acts, yet somehow recognize that those involved are people like us? Can we hate the acts, but not dehumanize the perpetrators? Could Israelis have hated the October 7th acts, yet have understood the circumstances and feelings that led to those acts? Could Israelis have not dehumanized the perpetrators, much less dehumanized all Palestinians? Could Israelis have not called Palestinians vermin, not incentivized genocide against Palestinians? Could Israelis have avoided reducing themselves to genocide perpetrators? Not easily, apparently. But was that too much to have hoped for? For that matter, can we ourselves hate repressive and even murderous policing and not call the cops pigs? Can we hate racist, misogynist, evil Trump officiating, yet not dehumanize Trump's supporters? Can we arouse in ourselves appropriate energy to battle fascist trends, but not let hate for fascist actions undo our own humanity? Can we work to end the horrors in Gaza and to prevent their spread without parroting anti-Semitic slanders? Can we see that against everything holy, everything moral, everything worthy, Israel seems literally hell-bent upon mayhem and destruction until nothing remains of Palestinians, and perhaps of Israel as well? And can we at the same time not become what we rightly reject? Isn't that part of our task regarding ending Netanyahu, genocide, and Trumpism too? It's not easy to express outraged militants, but simultaneously not dehumanize. Some are trying. We should all try, shouldn't we? Okay, that was the whole article. And now the Mideast massacre that it railed at persists and grows. Snipers routinely target young children. Can you imagine sitting comfortably on the edge of a roof, cocking your mammoth rifle, aiming it, and slicing off the top of the head of a 10-year-old? Maybe you can't. It is a hard act to contain in one's head. But can you imagine celebrating that act, or financing it, or even only carrying on while that is financed by your country? Surely we can imagine that much, can't we? It is all around us, after all. So how should we feel about it? Starvation sadistically afflicts everyone in Gaza. Can you imagine actual flesh and blood people cheering for starvation? Go, starvation, go? Or even just ignoring weaponized starvation? The correct reaction to weaponized starvation, the only humane reaction to it, is tears plus outrage, and then resistance, and above all, reaching out. And of course, back in the USA, abetting all that, our Trumpian headache has matured into a perpetual monumental migraine, a perpetual malignant monumental migraine that hurts beyond pain and that is methodically mopping a path to extensive malignant murder. I feel somewhat ridiculous repeating these observations over and over, somewhat apocalyptic, and yet they are not an exaggeration. Our not-so-friendly American exceptionalist fascism isn't fully grown yet. Knives flash, but don't quite yet sever heads, though we are getting there. Socially challenged, savage assholes wield power that corrupts, coerces, incarcerates, kidnaps, and increasingly murders, albeit the last still occurs as a collateral and not overtly pursued outcome. More structurally, our not-so-friendly American exceptionalist fascism seeks more than this or that individual policy. Its goal is round-the-clock power that removes all obstacles to its own unlimited range. Our not-so-friendly American exceptionalist fascism seeks structural enshrinement. It literally seeks to establish and entrench power that corrupts absolutely. That is our glass seen half empty, and it is more than mere imagination. Yet at the same time, Trump's support drops, anti-fascist resistance climbs, outrage demonstrations spread, energetic organizing starts to produce collective connections. Some law firms resist, some colleges resist, some unions resist, many citizens resist. Each new conversation, refusal, rally, march, and obstruction touches additional people. Each such act gives new people hope, provides new people ways to join. The whole of the resistance, with all of its many dimensions, puts steadily growing pressure on elites of all kinds, and also, honestly, on their abettors, on their enablers. It tells them we are not going away. We will get steadily more numerous and stronger. We will broaden our focus. We will resist, but then we will also challenge. We will reject your fascism, but then also pursue our liberation. Keep up your agenda and your whole edifice of cowardly, hypocritical, elite-serving, self-serving, fascistic, and even just business as previously usual system will be our target. You will not intimidate us into silence. You will instead horrify us into sustained, ever-widening pursuit of a better world. That is our glass half full. And it too is more than mere imagination. It is happening. It is spreading. And yet, I can't deny that at the same time, we still have many neighbors who continue to actively celebrate Trump, or who submissively buckle before him, scared even while also outraged, or who just passively watch him, whether horrified or amused. Too many do not yet visibly dissent. Too many do not yet resist. Too many comply. So what might you do about those who continue to watch Trump's antics, perhaps clapping, or more often troubled but silent? Should we who resist Trump write off those who don't? Should we castigate those who don't resist, or even hate them? And what do we do about the fear that interferes with resistance? Can I be blunt? Look around. Even aside from Trumpism, hypocrisy parades. People who decry lying, lie. People who ridicule clickbaiting, clickbait. People who say defend free speech, move to jail free speakers, or abide it. Look around and you will see that profiles in cowardice proliferate. A university capitulates. A law firm suspends legality. A progressive nonprofit engages in self-defense against conceivable attacks by prophylactically doing what the attackers demand before it is even demanded. And yet, still more troubling, below the top, many young lawyers still obey their partner bosses. Many students and faculty still obey their trustees. Many progressive organization staffs still obey their accountants. Obedience and self-censorship still proliferate. But wait, that's just more glass half-empty reporting. Other law firm lawyers file rebellious briefs. Other campuses collectively rebel. Other nonprofit organizations stay the course and organize. And for that matter, you are not a hypocrite. You are not a coward. Me too. So what, for goodness sake, should we do? Returning to Gaza, before I try to answer, I should note that I am Jewish by birth, though religion, even just as a cultural connection, isn't remotely deep in my makeup. It isn't my identity, not even a tiny part of my makeup. Nothing religious is. Yet my mother was Jewish, so I am Jewish. And on the two occasions that I can remember that I personally directly encountered anti-Semitism, 2 cases in 78 years, the first was from a parent of a then-woman friend, and, incredibly, so was the second. And I admit that my perhaps too aggressive response in each case may have owed somewhat to something purely personal, purely visceral, as well as to general outrage at oppressive behavior of any kind. So maybe that explains as well my reaction to what Israel is doing, to what much of Israel's population cheers on, and to what much of the Jewish community in the United States also cheers on, or, at any rate, calmly accommodates to. Maybe my being Jewish, however loosely, explains why I'm not only outraged, but I think maybe the word is embarrassed and incredulous. How could we? How could we? Well, people are capable of good and of ill, capable of wonderful and of abysmal. That's just a fact. People living under the sway of horrendously malignant institutions can become blind to, deaf to, and even abettors of widely horrible circumstances. That's just a fact. But people even living under the sway of horrendously malignant institutions can also resist. How many will? Here at home, and getting just a trifle more analytic about all this, Trumpian pundits offer 3 phony rationales to justify some key aspects of what Trumpism has been doing. Do these rationales abet Netanyahu too, over there, and abet other right-wing thugs elsewhere? I don't know. Perhaps they do. They are, 1, that we need to protect meritocracy. 2, that we need to expand efficiency. And 3, that we need to terminate anti-Semitism. Each of these 3 inclinations has been widely perverted to their current rationalizing purpose, though not for the first time, of course, and so each deserves some scrutiny. So consider the first rationale, meritocracy. This is employed because who is going to say merit ought not receive reward? Okay, then Trumpers say DEI interferes with meritocracy, so we must eliminate it. Owners produce oodles, so we must defend them against commie judges and so on. Well, what do we make of this rationale? Well, what is meritocracy? It is to remunerate, empower, or elevate people based on the merit, which is to say the quality or worth of their actions. We might then reasonably ask, however, first, does this in any degree at all actually occur? Does merit get rewarded, or does malevolence? Second, what or who determines merit? That is, what or who determines the quality or worth of actions? Is it all those who are affected, or is it a few who have great power? And third, and I suppose you might say this question is from somewhere outside the box, since this is nearly never asked, even if it is done seriously and with good intentions, ought people be remunerated, empowered, or elevated based on the quality or worth of their actions? Ought we reward luck or even inborn talent? Or should we reward only effort and sacrifice? The second rationale is that we must be efficient. This is urged because who is going to say, no, we should be inefficient? Fire him, fire her, fire them all. Efficiency demands that heads roll. But does it? Well, what is efficiency? It is to succeed in doing what we want to do and not waste that which is valuable to us in the process. To succeed and to not waste, that's a good norm, right? Who would instead favor inefficiency? Well, not so fast. We might ask, who is the we who decides what we want to do? Is it us, or is it someone who bosses us? And who is the we who decides what we value? Again, us or bosses above us? The third rationale is anti-Semitism. This is used because who is going to say that we ought to instead hate and punish Jews? So jail him, deport her, hell, get them all. Anti-Semitism demands it. But does it? What is anti-Semitism? Who decides that? Netanyahu? Trump? If these three rationales are ridiculous lying manipulations, and in any event, not even remotely serious explanations of Trump, Musk et al.'s true motives, then what does fuel Trumpism? Perhaps the most singularly unique thing about the chaotic shock and awe activities all around us is the degree to which the underlying real rationales are visible for all to see, and are literally the opposite of their rhetoric. The real rationales don't even hide in plain sight. They parade. The real rationales are to establish one-man rule, to impose chief executive rule, chief executive order, and chief executive cultural conformity. Enhance profit and power, power and profit. Not one or the other, but both. And if the two do sometimes clash, then if you can, seek and hold power first. The real rationales? Hate is their son. Fear is their daughter. Cruelty is their emblem. Physical, emotional, and intellectual rape is their weapon. For Trump, Musk, Vance et al., anything serviceable to their agenda has merit. If you are more conformist, you have more merit. If you bow down lower and serve with a bigger smile, you are a prince of talent, wisdom, and, of course, merit. If you stand and resist, seriously, you would do that? Okay, you are despicable vermin. Indeed, you are a terrorist against all that is holy, which is to say, against Trump. Our meritocracy rewards what power and wealth deem to be merit. Likewise, for Trump, Musk, Vance et al., anything that facilitates their pursuits and doesn't waste what they covet is efficient. If you are more serviceable of their power, you are more efficient. If you better fit their profit-seeking agenda, you are a princess of perfect accomplishment. Of course, this isn't particularly new. It has long been that anything that advances profit without wasting assets that profiteers can utilize was deemed efficient. The idea that what advances human well-being and development and doesn't waste what people value should be deemed efficient, well, find a few economists and citizens who say that, and you will have pinpointed a bunch of anti-Trump terrorists. The Trumpian change from professional economists blathering about capitalist efficiency isn't going from humane to inhumane. It already was inhumane. It is going from one profit-seeking uber alles version of inhumane to a different, now Trumpian, and far more extreme and cruel uber alles version of inhumane. And finally, for Trump, Musk et al., if you celebrate their every word, their every look, their every action, if you learn to lie with levity, learn to laugh while you shuffle humans out of sight before more simply just doing away with them, learn to toast yourself while you kill, then you are a winner. You must be anti-Semitic. You can celebrate Trump and be celebrated by him, no matter that you make Nazi salutes or worship at the altar of Hitler's memory. What's the phrase that folks seem to like? Make no mistake. Okay, make no mistake. Trump and co. are dragging us toward long-running fascist hell. But their power, ironically, depends on our submission. They have no really special talents, no superpowers. Their only strength, at least until and unless they truly solidify state repression to their whims, is their obliviousness to law and morality, their total lack of internal restraint, their total lack of empathy. But the simple truth is, if enough people say no, if enough people refuse to bow, if enough people finally actively, militantly disobey, the tide will turn for Gaza and for America. That being the case, a final question echoes, reverberates. Which side are we on? Should we individually self-center and obey commands to avoid pissing off Trump? Or should we collectively not only disobey Trump, but challenge, impede, remove, and replace Trumpism? I have a feeling that a number of people are going to experience some confusion in coming weeks regarding Trump himself. He's going to claim a lot of victories. He's going to claim to end war. He's going to claim to refresh and revitalize the economy. He's going to claim to clean up our culture. He's going to claim all manner of things. And superficially, I fear and expect that it may look like he's telling the truth. And so people are going to get confused. People are going to follow every single machination and ask, is he fulfilling his promises? Well, in a very real sense, he is going to be fulfilling his promises. His promises are vile, but he's going to be fulfilling them. So my point is, it's critical that people come to realize that we're not fighting, or we're not only fighting, policy. We're fighting an overall scheme, an overall agenda for the country, and the world for that matter. And that scheme and that agenda is fascistic. That's what must be opposed. The whole array of aims that he and his partners harbor for the United States. And yes, on occasion, he will do something, he may do something, that has a good side, has some positive ramifications. He may negotiate an end to the battle, to the war, to the genocide, at least temporarily, in the Middle East. Well, that's a thing that has good implications, good effects. It is possible, it ought to be possible, to simultaneously celebrate those good effects and castigate and continue to oppose and resist Trump and Trumpism. It needs to be. Otherwise, that's how he will entrench what he seeks, which is total one-person control. So, with that last point in mind, this is Michael Albert, signing off until next time for Revolution Z.